Sakafet YouTube, and welcome back to my channel. Let's cook with me from start to finish. Darlings, it's so nice to have you back here in my kitchen for yet another cook with me. We're jumping straight into it. Over here I've got my pink beans. I've added about a cup of pink beans to my pot. This is what it looks like in the packet. I got it from St. Lucia. I'm not sure you can get it in other parts of the world. I'm pretty sure you can. And I added some water to it just to wash it off and rinse it off, and I will drain that water off, okay, before going in with about 2 cups of water. I find that soaking it overnight will help to shorten the cook time the following day. Soaking it is also optional. You don't have to do this, but anyways guys, this is how it's looking. I left it overnight and then I transferred it to that small pot in the morning, and we're gonna cook it. Over here, I've got some lamb chops. I did season it with a little bit of oil, some salt, all-purpose seasoning, some mixed herbs, black pepper, and this is how it's looking. And yes, guys, I left it overnight in the fridge because honestly, I had this defrosting yesterday, and just before bed, I remembered it and I just quickly seasoned it, okay? I'm gonna make some fresh green seasoning, and you're gonna need some onions, you're gonna need some garlic, you're gonna need some peppers. Make sure you put all of these ingredients in there, and if you want it spicy, you can add scotch bonnet pepper. I don't like mine spicy, so this is why I pretty much go in with all of the ingredients that you see me adding to my food processor. Once everything is in, go ahead and blend it up with a little oil and you will have the most amazing green seasoning. So green seasoning is all blended. This is how it looks. So I went ahead and I'm gonna put some on my lamb because it didn't have any of those seasonings yesterday, just because I ran out. So go ahead and do that. Now leave that on the side to just rest for a bit while you work on caramelizing some sugar. So to a pot, I went in with some oil, and then I'm also gonna add in some brown sugar. Let that caramelize on a low to medium heat for about 5 minutes. It's gonna get foamy, it's gonna get nice and rich and dark brown, and this is when we're gonna add it in, okay? So it's a very simple process, a bit of patience, but it's so easy. Once it's nice and brown, go ahead and add in your seasoned lamb chops, and you want to cover it up, okay? Don't stir it up or anything as yet. Just cover it up for about 2 minutes, and then we'll come back and stir it. After about 2 to 3 minutes, this is how it's looking. I did go ahead and stir it up, and as you can see, it's got some beautiful color coming in. Guys, honestly, whenever I flip over my meat and I see that color underneath, it gives me such great joy. And look at this piece, oh my goodness. And imagine, this is raw, you know, this is not even cooked. This has only been cooking for about 2 to 3 minutes, and it looks so good, okay? Now, as you can see, it's starting to spring up some juices. We want all these juices to dry up before we actually go ahead and add in any liquid or any further ingredients, so make sure to let that liquid dry up. I have had complaints where people say that the meat is turning out bitter, and it's because you don't let that liquid dry up, okay? Letting the liquid dry up will really help to intensify that stew process. And as you can see, we have no liquid, we have a bit of oil to show you the meat is frying down. And yes, my darlings, this is where you can add your further ingredients, okay? So I personally like to just add in some tomato ketchup. I like to add in some scotch bonnet, thyme, and I also added about 6 cups of water to this because, oh my goodness, I added about 2 cups and it wasn't enough. You want to put enough to almost cover the lamb chops, okay? And add some thyme, add your scotch bonnet pepper, keep it whole. That will keep the meat very flavorful and not spicy. And we're going to cook it on low for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, okay? Over here, I've got my coleslaw ingredients. So I've got my carrots, I've got some purple cabbage and some white cabbage. Go ahead and clean it, peel it, chop it up, do whatever you have to do. I'm gonna start by peeling the carrots and just making sure the cabbage leaves are looking extra nice. Then I'll wash it with some cold water and vinegar, and then I'm gonna grate my carrots, and I'm gonna use my peeler that I usually use to peel my carrots to shed my cabbage. Okay, this is my own secret tip on how I get the nice thin slices for my coleslaw. Some people do this with a knife, some people do it by hand, but listen, if you look at this, it's so smooth, it's so easy. This peeler comes so handy, and it's just the best way to make the coleslaw. Okay, I personally like to add more carrots than cabbage for that extra sweetness. And yes, my darlings, once I finish the cabbage, see how it looks nice and thin, gorgeous. Then I'm gonna go ahead and shred my purple cabbage, and this is quite staining, so I don't really like to put too much. So I actually took this small piece and thought, okay, I'm gonna put all of it, but after a while, when I did about half of it, I was like, I think this is enough. Okay, so I pretty much just store it back in my fridge, any leftovers, and then you can go ahead and mix it up. As you can see, the purple cabbage is staining that white cabbage so quickly. I'm gonna add in some vinegar in there for some freshness. I'll add in some honey for some sweetness. I'll add in some black pepper and give that a good mix. I'll let it rest on the side, and just when I'm about to serve, I will add some mayo. The mayo is optional, it's just that I love to add mayo to mine. Okay, for veg now, I'm going to be working on some beetroot. Very staining. I've run out of cooking gloves, so I've decided, you know what, we're going to peel this with our bare hands. Okay, go ahead and peel your beetroot, and it just stains everything it touches, so be very careful and be very mindful of that. Okay, once my beetroot is peeled, I'll give it a good wash, and you know, just chop it up and all that good stuff. Okay guys, you see me do these things so often, and it's just such a nice thing to do. Okay, so once the beetroot was peeled, I did go ahead and chop it up into small pieces, add it to my cooking pan. I'll run it under some cold water just to, you know, get rid of some of the stains, just a little, and then we'll season it up. Beetroot is freshly washed, so I went in with a little bit of mixed herbs, and then I'm gonna add in some all-purpose seasoning and some butter, and this will steam a little bit closer to the end of the cooking video because it takes only 5 minutes. So once it's all prepped and stuff, I just cover it up, set it to one side, and I jump onto something else. So now we're just pretty much prepping stuff. Okay, at this point my piece is looking fantastic, so I'm gonna check it. It only took about an hour. If you squeeze it, you'll see that it crushes quite easily. So at this point, I'll transfer it to a bigger pan to cook. And yes, my darlings, go ahead and add the piece to the pot, add a little bit more water, not much. Okay, and then we're gonna add some coconut milk. I'm adding half a can of coconut milk in there. This is for us to make our rice and peas, and as you can see, it's only half a can I used. And I also add in some all-purpose seasoning in there, and then I'm gonna add in a little bit of salt, add 1 scotch bonnet pepper and some thyme, and then I'm also gonna add a heaping tablespoon or 2 of my fresh green seasoning. Of course, mix that in well, and then you want to let that boil for about 10 minutes. Okay, not too long, just 10 minutes. Okay, so over here, I've got a potato, and I decided to just make some seasoned potato wedges just because, you know, I love when my plates are colorful and nutritious. So I go ahead and just cut that potato in half and just cut it into wedge shapes, as you can see I'm doing here. And then I'm going to give it a good wash, transfer it to a pan, and then we're going to just boil it for about 10 minutes with a little bit of salt. Okay, so simple, so easy to do. Last but not least, we have our corn, and I'm just going to remove it from the pack, and then we're going to go ahead and just cut off the ends and then cut the corn into 3 pieces, just because it will make it much easier to fit in my pan. But yes, my darlings, this is literally how I do my cook with me's. I love to just have a mix of veg. My son don't like beetroot, but he likes corn, so I'm happy that he's having some sort of veg, and you know, the other one does not mind. So it's just a really nice way to incorporate different things on the menu, so at least your kids can choose from, even if they don't like every single thing. Okay, so once my corn was washed and chopped up, I added a little bit of salt, add some butter, and I'm gonna cover it up. Oh, I also added some mixed herbs and I'm gonna cover it up and let it cook for about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, so over here I've got my rice. I'm using some jasmine rice. Add about 1.5 cups of jasmine rice, give that a really good wash, and then we're gonna go ahead and add it to our beans and coconut milk and all that good stuff. Oh yes, this is looking so good. So once my rice has been added, I love to just taste it, adjust it. There was nothing missing, so I gave it a good mix, and then I'm gonna cover it up and let it steam down on low with some foil on the lid for about 10 to 15 minutes. Listen, this is so flavorful. It smells so good. Just let it steam down on low for 15 minutes, and we're pretty much wrapping up all of what we need to do right now. So this is it, looking amazing. We've got our rice steaming down. It's not quite ready yet, so just give it a few more minutes. And then we've got our lamb that's stewing down for the past 1.5 hours. Still needed to reduce just a little bit more. And over here we've also got our potatoes. We've literally just got everything. Okay, the potatoes is looking so good, and I'm only cooking it for 10 minutes. We've got our beetroot in the back steaming down for the last 5 minutes. And listen, this is just the perfect way to make your dinner. Okay, so once the potatoes were about 10 minutes in, I did drain it off. I added a little bit of oil and I added some roast potato seasoning on there. I'm going to pop it into the oven for about 5-10 minutes, just so that it can dry up, and it makes it so sweet when it dries up some of the liquid when it's roasting. And I got this roast potato seasoning from Marks and Spencer, so tasty. So pop it into the oven for about 10 minutes and we are pretty much done, guys. I'm going to check on my beetroot. I'm just going to go ahead and just check on everything, but we are pretty much done. This cook with me took me about 2 hours, and that is just because the meat takes a long time to cook and soften. Because the mistake you don't want to make is to put the meat on high heat, because it will not cook. It will just keep drying the liquid. But yeah, once the meat was nice and reduced and it looks something like this, oh my goodness, it's all done. I also garnished with some fresh parsley as well. And guys, look at all of that oil that I skimmed off. And you don't have to do this, but this is just my own preference. Okay, I don't like to serve nobody no extra oil in their dinner. Okay, so this is looking so good, and honestly, I just cannot wait to dive in. So this takes me to the end of the cook with me. My rice is also done. Look at how amazing, guys. It smells so good. And the fact that it was cooked in that coconut milk, just know the flavors are just oh, everything. So go ahead and fluff it up using a fork, and I'm just gonna cover it up again, remove the scotch bonnet pepper and thyme. And yes, my loves, this is it, all done, all done. I'm gonna show you everything now that everything is finally cooked. And yes, my loves, feel free to share any combination that you'd love to see me cook, because I'm always open for some of your suggestions. And yes, my darlings, so all done, all done, all done. So this is my gorgeous rice. This is my beautiful meat, my corn, my potatoes, my beetroot. Everything is looking so amazing. And I also had this beautiful avocado on the side, because how can I forget my avocado? And I also added in a little mayo to my coleslaw last minute because it was chilling in the fridge. And I did mix it up. It's looking so delicious and it tastes so fresh as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and plate it up to show you how it's looking. And guys, this is the plate fit for a queen, fit for a king. My family is really enjoying. Thank you so much for watching. It's been a pleasure having you here, and I can't wait to see you in my next one.